All right, let's bring in Jon Hamm. The movie is Million Dollar Arm, opens nationwide Friday. John joins us now. Did you watch any of the draft last night, John?
I missed it. I was busy doing. By the way, hello. How are
Hi,
you?
John.
No, I was busy doing press all day. I did the Seth Meyers show. I was right across the street from it. I was right at 30 Rock, but I missed it.
Are you an NFL fan?
I am indeed an NFL fan. Although I'm sort of a man without a country. I was a Cardinals refugee when they left to go to Arizona. And then I moved to L.A. in '94, '95, right when the Rams moved to St. Louis. So I'm kind of just a general fan of the league.
Well, jump on a bandwagon, John.
I know I should. I really should. I should just totally be a front runner. The one team I cannot root for is the Cowboys. That's the only one, and I'm probably going to alienate half the country on that one. But I'll make good friends with the other half. So there you go.
But why do you hate the Cowboys?
Because every year growing up in the 70s and 80s, the Cowboys would drive a dagger into the heart of the Jim Hart-led St. Louis Cardinals. I think the term Hail Mary was coined in a Cowboy Cardinal game. They would just find a way to win in a way that the Cardinals would always find a way to lose. And because of that reason, I actually had to adopt the Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris era Pittsburgh Steelers because they were the antidote to the Cowboys. They would always beat the Cowboys.
Oh, I like how you had to settle for the Steelers. You know, yeah,
well,
I'm going to settle for these guys.
You see what I mean?
The best sports movie though, growing up, was there one that you watched and you said, or is there a sports movie that should be made? I know that, with Million Dollar Arm, based on a true story, but was there one that is still out there?
Well, growing up, I think for me, a kid in the 70s, it didn't get much better than the Bad News Bears. It was funny. It was about kids, and it was kind of dirty. It was all that good stuff.
And so, Walter Matthau popping beers.
Walter Matthau was hilariously ill-tempered. And Tatum O'Neal was like every 13-year-old boy's total crush. She was a girl who could play baseball. I was like, okay, it kind of doesn't get better than that.
When they gave you the script of Million Dollar Arm, what did you think? Or did you hear the story first and then got the script?
No, I read the script first, and I knew the writer, a guy named Tommy McCarthy, who's written some really, really wonderful movies, The Station Agent and The Visitor and Win-Win, who happened to be a friend of mine and Jen's. And I read it, and I finished the script. And I was like, oh, my gosh, this is such a cool story. And then I looked back on the title page, and I said, based on a true story, how have I not heard of this story? I'm a baseball fan. Like, I eat this stuff up. And then I got on Google and just kind of Googled around for a while and realized, like, oh, my God, I've never heard of this. How have I never heard of this? And I feel like that's kind of, in talking to friends and talking to other fans, I'm like, people are like, I never heard of this. What? This is real? And I think, I don't know, it just didn't get traction when it happened. And Rinku Singh is still in the Pirates organization, but hasn't really, he's been injured and hasn't really, obviously hasn't made it to the bigs, but I think it will happen in the course of the next 5 or 10 years. There's going to be an Indian-born player in the bigs, and it will be 100% because of this story.
Well, I think sometimes sports is we use it as a microcosm. It's telling the struggle or relationships, underdog type things. So is that these kids that no one gives them a chance, that they get this opportunity, and the Pirates sign them? That you sort of look at the struggle. That's the context here of what Million Dollar Arm's all about.
I think 100%. I think you look at this story and it's inspiring. It's aspirational. You see where these kids come from. It's literally from the middle of nowhere in India, the sticks, where your opportunities are. You either work for your dad in the brick making plant, or you drive a truck, or whatever it is, or you go into the army. Like, those are your two options as a young boy. And then this other thing comes around, and you get a chance to go to the U.S. and possibly play in this amazing Major League Baseball organization. And so to give a kid, and basically here's the caveat: all you have to do is work your ass off, We're going to train you. We're going to give you the best education. We're going to give you all this stuff. You just have to apply yourself 100%. And I've spoken to both Rinku and Dinesh, the guys that this happened to, and they didn't speak a lick of English. They'd never touched a baseball. They had no experience with the game. They had to learn it from the ground floor, stuff that we learned as 6-year-olds. How it all works and what the rules are and all this stuff. They didn't know that, and they're starting and they're playing with guys who are good, at the college level. So their story is like, look, if these guys had to work 100%, we had to work 500%, and put in 5 times the hours, and they did. And in the space of 10 months, they were good enough to get a serious look from a major league franchise.
He's Jon Hamm. He plays the cocky sports agent in $1 Million Arm. Hits theaters Friday, May 16th. Joining us, Dan Patrick Show. You in fantasy leagues?
Yes, I'm in 2. I'm in a football and a baseball. I understand this is my first year in fantasy baseball, and I understand very little about it. I'm utterly confused, and I literally auto drafted my team, and then have spent the last few weeks just trying to load it up with Cardinals, which is a strategy, but probably not the best strategy.
Have you thrown out a pitch?
I'm okay with it.
Have you thrown out the first pitch at a Cardinal game?
I have not. I think that situation may be rectified this summer, but I have not yet.
If
I can't decide if I want to go Bill Murray style and upper deck it, or if I want to try to spin like a curveball in there, which is probably the worst idea.
Yeah.
Simply because here's what would end up happening. I would probably blow out my elbow.
Would you go to the mound as Don Draper or Jon Hamm?
It's hard to throw a baseball in a suit. I'll tell you that.
But you'd look good going to the mound.
I'd look good. No. There's that. I'd look good right up into the point where I had to toe the rubber, so to speak.
How much?
Which always sounds way dirtier than it should.
You don't want to toe the rubber, John. Not in public. You don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's best done in private.
How much pressure is on you that you feel that no matter what you do with the final season of Mad Men, is it going to be good enough?
Well, fortunately, it's not on me. I don't think. I mean, I can only do with what I've do whatever with what I've been presented. I don't have to write it, fortunately. So I think that the pressure is on Matthew and the writers, and I think it's legit. Matt used to work for David Chase. He was around for the end of Sopranos. Mm-hmm. He knows how that kind of was David's vision and was received kind of it was a very polarizing ending, and I think that that's okay. It doesn't have to be something that is necessarily going to please all. I think it's Matthew's vision, and he has to see it through to the end. And we're there to service it, and I'm there to play my guy until the end. And I hope. Look, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I hope people do respond to it in a positive way or a negative way. I hope it's emotional in some way.
Mad Men movie?
No, that'll never happen. We've already had. What's it going to be? Mad Men and Breaking Training. I mean, Search for Curly's Gold. I'm not sure what Electric Boogaloo. I don't know. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's in the cards.
And you came back to the cards. It always comes back to the St. Louis Cardinals
how about
with
that?
you. Good luck with the movie, John. Great to talk to you, and the final season of Mad Men.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, appreciate that. Jon Hamm joining us. Kind of cool.